But that led me to Gary Yurovsky's. I remember one instance where I actually interacted with him and he responded on email as well.
And he responded?
He responded only once.
Okay.
So he's the person who brought all the foreign practices in Indian dairy, right?
How do you see the ethics of getting money from non-vegan investors? Hi everyone, in this episode we are going to have a candid conversation with someone who is not only a vegan but also a vegan startup founder. His name is Sagar and he's the founder of VeganDukan, which is one of India's leading vegan e-commerce platform. And in this episode we are going to talk about his journey as an entrepreneur and how young professionals can get into vegan businesses in India, the challenges of a vegan startup founder, and the intersection of activism and plant-based economy in India. This is a heart-to-heart conversation, and without wasting any time, let's get started. Hi Sagar, thank you so much for joining. And you can just give a brief introduction about yourself to the audience, like how has been your journey and how did you become a vegan?
Yes, hi. So thanks a lot, Shivam. Always pleasure to interact with vegans with one-to-one conversation. Candidly, we can speak. So thanks for the invitation. So I have been vegan for like close to 9 years. Around 2014, I turned vegan. I was always vegetarian, so so those kind of values were already there. I'm from Gujarat and all, so all those things are already instilled. But actually, came to know the realities of what happens in dairy. I came to know in 2014. So once I was surfing through my Facebook feed, and one of the college mates, so she had shared something, and it was about all this bullfight which happens in Spain. So that was the first time I learned about it while going through that. But that led me to Gary Yurovsky's YouTube video, and I watched it in one go and kind of immediately decided that this is something which I really need to do, because if I'm not eating meat for whatever number of chances I had in my life, all the freedom I had, then this is something which I also should think about. And then I researched a lot, because it was important for me at that time that if I'm seeing something which is it really happening in India as well? And I could validate whatever in 2-3 days that it is actually general practice. If you don't go through or don't put those animals through that process, it won't be feasible to sell anything at that price. So it took about 3 days time, convincing family also. So it was like those 3 days I was just into this, now I want to make some decision. So also convinced family also kind of shared if they are not convinced, but I said okay, I need to do this. So that was the time I turned vegan. And
wow, 9 years is a long time. So I mean, I don't think you would have known many vegans at that time in India, 2014.
So that is correct. So I think I knew very few people, and at that, even I started searching about it, and then I came to know about a few of the outreaches happening at that time. Abhay was one person I remember at very much initial days. He was a person who Abhay Rangan, founder of One Good.
Yeah, One Good now.
Yeah. So initial days I knew about him, and then few more people. And then Richa Thomas.
Richa Thomas.
So very much in initial days, I had met them, and then never been part of any outreaches or something, but knew that it
some
is for real.
Exist in Bangalore, in India.
Yeah, that is correct. And it's for real. Whatever is happening is for real. The change. There are people who are looking for this change. So that time very, very few people were there whom I knew.
So inspiring, the kind of work that Gary Yurovsky has done, and inspired so many people, right? If I talk to 10, 20 people, everyone would remember that speech on YouTube.
Correct.
And that's really inspiring. That actually inspired me to be a content creator, him and Arvind, that okay, I have to talk more about it. Like this thing should reach out to more and more people.
True, very true. I think he has done tremendous work, and as the title says, best pitch ever, right? And I still feel, yes, it is the best pitch ever. And so many people he has inspired. I remember one instance where I actually interacted with him and he responded on email as well. I had some query with him and all. And those were initial days where a lot of enthusiasm and everything mixed together. I had sent some queries to him and then
he responded.
He responded only once.
Okay.
Only once he responded. Response was very blunt. So that anyone is approaching him should be stay on the path. Yeah. So his response was like that.
Yeah. Because he's not very active on social media. Yeah. Plus, from what I hear, like if you ask him a query, he'll not be very nice. He'll give, like you said, a very blunt answer.
So I'll tell you why I reached out. I was looking for some kind of mentorship. Underlying message was that, and at that time I was working with this footwear company, and when I joined the company, that time we already had the inventory, a lot of shoes, and they were made with pig and cow leather. Yeah. And that was also the same time when I learned a lot about veganism, and then I also learned about leather industry and all. So somewhere I wanted to bring some change in the company, and I just shared this is what I'm trying to do, and all those things, and that's where he made sure that I don't lose what I'm aspiring to do to bring the change. So yeah, that is the once he has responded.
Nice.
And I think it was something else also. There was something about FSS AI as well, where I wanted some guidance from him. Initial days, I didn't have much idea whom to reach out.
FSSI is the Indian trademark whether a food is vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and now we have vegan trademark as well, right?
That is correct, yes. So there was also the time where I tried to reach out to FSSAI that why not bring same kind of a logo for vegan as well. And so yeah, so it was more about सब हाथ पैर मार रहे हैं, जो भी होता है चलो करते हैं, ये करते हैं, change कर देते हैं.
Did he respond to that?
They responded, yes. They responded very.
Then you wrote to FSSI.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wrote to FSSAI as well that why don't we do like this?
And now it has happened.
It has happened now, yes. So they were very logical at that time, I would say, though I would have appreciated if this was implemented earlier, but they said there are not many people who are looking for this. You can easily read the ingredients.
True.
And I was like, no, but this will bring awareness about what's happening with animals and all.
But it wasn't their priority to bring awareness,
yeah,
right?
It's not their job.
So yeah, so that's fascinating. And then from when did you decide to be an entrepreneur and a purpose-driven entrepreneur? And tell us a bit about your brand VeganDukan and what all you are doing now.
Since I understood, what is vegan, and it's definitely need of the hour for more and more people to act on it. I had a lot of urge to do something there. But it took some time for me to also understand what can I do. What kind of skills I have so far acquired and where I can actually add value. So for few years I kept on researching. Though I was very much attached with that footwear job because we actually changed it to vegan. Okay. The very next batch we started doing vegan. And it was accepted by the founder at that time and management and everybody. And actually shoes had no problem.
Which brand was it? So
the shoe brand was Divano at that time. And it actually helped the footwear because two things. One is we could cut down on the cost. Second is the footwear got actually lighter, which is another thing which everybody look for, right? You need little lighter shoes. And that's where it actually benefited company only. No customer complaints. We sold a lot of shoes. So I was quite attached with that job. But somehow, we could not, the company could not survive. We could not, it did not, survive because of so many mistakes also on the way we made. But then, then I understood that, okay, fine, still I need to do something because my contribution and my time has to be invested in this. So around 2017-18, I started looking very, very actively that what can be done here. and I understood that okay, fine. I have been in startups and I have been in e-commerce. So this is something which I can think about. Where why not try to make lives of people easy to go vegan?
And when you say e-commerce, for the same shoe brand or for a different brand?
For the same shoe brand. We were like digital first brand.
Okay.
So everything we did was online only completely. So I had really good rich experience with that startup, and that's where I thought okay fine, this is what we can do, because anyway Amazon and Flipkart were just starting up around that time. So understood that India is opening up for online shopping and all.
They started up I think way back
I think yeah,
Flipkart in 2008 and so
Yes.
Amazon probably came later maybe, but they started booming around the time of 2015 or so.
Yes,
when people
15 onwards, yes.
Yes.
Correct. I think 14-15 they really started doing very well.
Like that trust factor came within the Indian consumers ki we can order something from e-commerce, right? Otherwise
Correct.
people were like always skeptical. With the cash on delivery model, that trust built.
Correct. I think Flipkart started that
Yeah.
cash on delivery,
Yeah.
and I think that actually changed the trajectory for so many online businesses, right? Because I think close to 30-40% transaction happens through cash on delivery. Now people are trusting digital transaction much more. Yeah. So around that time, I was also searching that if anything is there something similar what I am thinking, and then there are some ventures like e-commerce companies are already doing something in USA. That gave me some idea that okay fine, this is happening. Not necessarily that everybody would be buying from Amazon or any of these people only. There can be and not also necessary that they would give same kind of attention to this kind of requirement. So got some confidence from there. So in 2019, like January, I started working full time on this venture. 2018 December was my last working day and all, 31st December.
And were you working on this as a side hustle earlier also, or 2019 you started full on?
It was more of a just research.
Okay.
I had not started full-fledged anything. Okay. In fact, I proposed the same company also that I'm thinking about something and why don't we do this
together?
Yeah. So, but they were not interested to do that. So then I quit that full-time working job, and I started putting all the time since 2019 January on VeganDukan. So earlier I had named it Vegan Ho, and it was like
vegan what?
It was like Gung Ho with V. I had some meaning in my head that like vegans working together with zeal. Yeah. So but it was not very consumer friendly name. And that's what we learned after a lot of interactions with customers. Then thought okay fine, we should change it.
And VeganDukan is now so generic that immediately people understand. For our non-Hindi viewers, Dukan means a shop.
That is
so VeganDukan, and we have some really good brand names which are very Indian in their name and immediately clicks with the consumers. For example, Shadi.com.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
मतलब किसी को समझाना नहीं पड़ेगा कि VeganDukan है क्या, मतलब everyone will understand. At least the first जो टास्क होता है कि ब्रांड को समझाना पड़े, तो वो तो नहीं है.
That is correct. So it was coined by ex-colleague, and he was very keen that no, this is the right name, and I personally did not like it. The partner he was also like yeah, Dukan.
It doesn't sound classy.
It doesn't sound classy. It is like we are kind of degrading ourselves or something like that. So we were not in for it. But that time advisor also suggested no, like we should do this. This is the right name, and we were like okay fine. It's like technically we accepted it. It was not something we liked it. But then we have got validation from people that this is a very very apt name. Correct. It's very simple. So yeah. So 2019 November December onwards it was VeganDukan.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Abhi, VeganDukan, when it started in 2019, was it the only vegan e-commerce brand, or there were others as well?
So, at least 3 I knew at that time.
They still exist today?
2 of them closed down.
So three including you, or?
other than what we were doing. Three were there. So two of them are no more operational, and one they have like they're not very active on online acquisition and doing business and all. They have changed. They have a little different business model.
Is it Wildermart by any chance?
No. So Rare Earth Organics.
Okay.
So Rare Earth Organics. There was another was Ahimsa something, I don't remember the name, and there was third one from Mumbai.
Okay.
So yeah, there were three. They were not like straight away vegan, but yeah, when you go through the website and if you know the founders, you would know that yeah, it's vegan.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. For example, Rare Earth Organics. When I listen to the name, it's not about veganism, even though you are saying that the founders were purpose driven. But you chose VeganDukan, which means you are right out there ki boss, this is a vegan brand.
Right? Yeah.
So that would have its challenges as well, right?
Correct.
Because the term vegan, it is not very well received in India, right? There are some negative connotations around it.
Yes.
So, so from scalability perspective, like how have you thought about it? Ki we'll only cater to the vegans and the future vegans? Or you also think that someday this will become mainstream and maybe plant-based enthusiasts will also order from VeganDukan?
So that concern, there was another concern with keeping anything vegan, right? That what should we do, because a lot of intelligent people or intelligent agencies or whoever, so they also say that let's try to be more inclusive and all. Let's be plant-based, generic, yeah. Now, having said that, right now I don't know, how future will turn out to be. But the popularity or the familiarity with vegan world for what we are doing is very, very high than something plant-based or sustainable or something like that. So that way, like we are very clear when people come to our website, or even if you as a consumer go to any for any shopping, what you are looking for, and that if it is written as vegan, then you are 100% sure, right? It's just like vegetarian and non-vegetarian. So that way it serves the purpose. It's kind of currency now. Like a lot of people whom I know, they say okay, बाहर जाते हैं, so vegetarian किसी को पता नहीं चलता है, लेकिन vegan बोला तो we are very safe. So that way, I think it is still in a lot of flux. We don't know. There is there is a negative connotation and all, but I feel if somebody is looking for something, I think vegan word is very clear to them.
Yes, true.
And but yeah, I think we don't know, right? How different it would be than US and European markets where there is some kind of polarization has already happened with this terminology.
Yes.
But as a consumer, I think you are so much, so like you are very clear, like you have money and you want to buy something. I don't think for consumer it makes so much difference.
True.
Yeah.
From business side of things, I think it might just turn out to be beneficial. So as an activist, when I talk to people, there's sometimes this notion coming from activists that we should not use the term vegan because there's a negative connotation around it, right? And I have done a lot of research on this, that whether we should use anti-species and terms like those and not vegan. But after doing a lot of research, I arrived at the conclusion, no, we should definitely use the term vegan. There are multiple reasons. One of them is what you were referring to as the currency, which I call as digital asset value. Like the term vegan, it is widespread.
Correct.
People already know about it. Now, as an educator, it's my job to assign the right definition to it, right?
Correct.
Right. So that is there. But from business standpoint, what is the wrong definition? The wrong definition is that people think of veganism as just a diet or food aspect, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm saying that as an entrepreneur, maybe that is something which will benefit you. Even though as an activist, I would want to say that no, think of veganism as a social justice movement, diet is a part of it. But from the consumer standpoint, I think that is going to be beneficial ki haan, hame chahiye food, which is vegetarian minus dairy and
honey.
Vegetarian minus dairy minus honey.
Right.
And VeganDukan is serving that purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
It is correct. So I think that's one point which I think about, that people keep people who have now tried to learn what is vegan and all, they also try to complain that yaar ye to foreign concept hai, because word itself is anyway it is like English dictionary. So probably we can come up with any Indianized name for this philosophy. I think that would be very nice.
ये भी एक मतलब हाँ, this is more of a if I have to politicize the discussion, this is more of a right wing argument within veganism that there is a foreign concept, right? So उसमें then I tell them like भाई word can be a foreign word, but how can you say this concept is foreign concept? Ahimsa is built into our culture, right? So if you read our scriptures and everything, like I'm not well read on it, but there are some people who have read on it and who have understood it. So to speak, the enlightened ones like Acharya Prashant. So he always talks about this, right? That ahimsa is inbuilt. So conceptually, it's not something that we have taken from the foreigners, right? In fact, consumption of animal flesh has come from foreign. It was not something we used to do.
So one point to that, Varghese Kurian himself has written, and probably he brought this white revolution, right? So he's the person who brought all the foreign practices in Indian dairy, right? So I think there is one very strong argument where people are trying to ignore.
True. So for people who don't know, Varghese Kurian, like Sagar rightly said, is the father of white revolution. What is white revolution? Essentially to make dairy an integral part of Indian economy. And how do you do that? By optimizing production and increasing process efficiencies. So in India it was happening in a very mechanical way, where the dairy animals were part of family and like more like a companion animals. But he actually made the whole thing as a commodity, right?
He created industry out of it.
Yeah. And he has categorically said, because he was only thinking from the business perspective, he has categorically said that if the animals are entering the system at such a fast pace, because we want them to get pregnant, right, as soon as possible, and then we want them to give them as much milk as possible, but then we also need to think of an exit system.
Right.
How will the dairy farmer take care of an infertile dairy mother or the male calves, right? So there needs to be a system for them to exit, right? True. And that is where beef and leather industry, and that's why I tell people that the dairy industry, the beef and the leather, they're all connected. Right?
So I think there is also another term for pink revolution.
Pink revolution.
So white revolution actually brought pink revolution, right?
Yeah, pink revolution is essentially the associated with beef industry, right? They coexist together. Correct. They subsidize each other.
Right.
वो essentially, like you would understand as जैसे supply chain होता है, extracting product, कुछ products start में निकाल के बेच रहे हैं, some products are sold later in the supply chain, so they all subsidize each other. If you only consume the flesh, then who will take care of, like it will be a costlier affair for the consumers and for the sellers as well. So it's interlinked that way.
So there is, I think, one saying in Gujarati, and like if I translate it, it says like, if elephant would be of 1 lakh rupee, and if elephant dies, he would be or she would be 1.5 lakh rupees. So there is a value attached to complete life cycle of all the animals, right? Whether when they are living, there is a value. When they are dead, there is a value. There is value for pharmaceutical industry or so many cosmetic industry which we even don't know कि कहाँ पे कौन से parts use कर दिए हैं, and we feel we are very efficient and smart.
We are efficient and smart. It's just that we are unethical about it in the sense that we have treated a sentient being like a commodity or a product.
Right. Yeah,
so
true.
मतलब बाकी जगह में कर रहे, because of which we are using such amazing products, so that is fine. But यहाँ पे there is a sentient being involved, so that is there. So अभी VeganDukan, you have been working or running the company for 4 years now.
This 4th year,
right? So, and before that you were working for that shoe brand, right?
Yeah.
And what was your role there exactly?
So when I joined as a sales representative, and in few months then I was appointed as CEO, and it was a very small team, and also so and then I was part of the core strategic decision making, or whatever, fundraising and everything.
In few months or few years?
Few months. So it was a very small company. It was also a bet, a promoter took on me. He saw that I was taking responsibility of multiple departments and area, and few gray area and few wrong practices were also going on, and all those things. So I was not hesitating to do whatever to make company better.
And being a startup, it gave you that freedom to apply and pitch your ideas.
That is correct. Like, probably I also found that, this is the kind of place that suits me most. Like, where there is no written JD for me, and there is no restriction, and they trust me for what, I try to bring in, and then validate, fine. But, at least they trust me with, my intentions and all. So, yeah, so in a couple of months, then they gave me the opportunity. Okay, fine, Sagar, you head this.
And then you worked there for how many years?
So I was there for like close to 2.5, 3 years. I was there. Then we again launched another brand, so I again joined them but yeah, at a stretch I was there for like 2.5, 3 years.
Fine. So you were working for a brand earlier where you were a salaried employee, right? And you had your financial stability in terms of paychecks coming every month, and you know how to plan your financials around it, right? And then you took the leap of faith and started a vegan company. So just tell us about your experiences with regard to managing of your personal finances.
So we had a very unique phase in our lives, when I was trying to see that what I can do, and what I can do better in professionally as well, vis-a-vis making sure that it is something vegan. At that time, so we were staying in joint family that time. Like my wife, sister-in-laws. I think it was a big home in Bangalore only. So they kind of they had supported that time. I said, this is what I think I should do, and it was primarily my wife actually speaking. They were also supporters without saying anything. So my sister-in-laws, they were also working in good companies and all. So we knew that, like, it was not something thought that they were going to be supportive, but at least I knew that, okay, fine, there is some support system we would have. But primarily my wife had a very stable career, and she still works with that company for a very long time. But that was my calculation. My wife was very much she was very much worried, but I said, this is now, time has come, and I really feel I want to do this. So it was more of a leap of faith for sure. Somewhere initially it took some time, but then she accepted, and then support and everything was definitely there, because my kid was also like growing up, and his schooling had started and everything. So that was there. So yeah, it halved our income, and
because halved your income in the sense that you were not earning,
like our total income.
Okay.
So it just halved us, and then yeah, so it was very new. I still don't know how did we manage.
Okay. This was in the initial stage.
2019. So for close to 2.5 years, I did not take any salary.
Okay.
So we got our first angel investment coming in, and from that time I started taking salary.
Okay.
Otherwise I was just taking some fuel expenses and those things, like but very, very minimal. So that was a thing. But I think family supported, I would say. We anyway were living very, very simple life. It's not that, but then it became much more simpler then. So that is there. But yeah, but then family is what I can say that I could take all these things, take those risks because of that. And then yes, very much initial investor, like who actually gave us that that experimental money to do all those things. But it would not have been justified if I started taking salary from there as well. So I did not take it. But that gave us the confidence that there is some business value attached to what we are trying to do. So yeah.
Nice. And that was the only round of funding, or you have taken more funding since then?
No, so that is so very much initially there was one kind of pre-seed kind of round,
yeah.
and after that one angel round we had in 2021. After that we have not raised more funds. Probably time will come now where we would be looking for further whatever next plans, and also for that we would be raising funds.
Okay.
So yeah.
And I mean, it is silly to ask at this stage, but still for anyone who's watching this, so as of now, VeganDukan is still burning cash, or you have reached the stage of profitability?
No. So we are smiling and saying this, but no, we are not profitable yet.
Yeah.
And I think okay. So apart from the justification part of it,
no, that is understandable. I think.
Yeah. But yes, I think we are
Flipkart, Amazon, इतने साल रहने के बाद, इतना उठाने के बाद, they have become profitable in the recent past.
That's true. Yeah. So, but yeah, so no, we are not profitable. We try hard to be very efficient and lean and that way, but no, we are not profitable yet.
And the profitability from the e-commerce side of things will come with scale only, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
So as of now, we have some more e-commerce vegan brands in India, right? So how do you see the future will pan out? For example, if I talk about e-commerce in general, Flipkart started in 2008 and then Amazon, then there were many other players as well, right?
Correct.
Snapdeal, etc. And then they consolidated, and now they are, in the general category, there are these two major brands. And then there are specialized brands like Myntra, right? So how do you see VeganDukan as a brand will pan out? Like, do you think there will be consolidations? First and foremost, that is the first question. That do you think there will be consolidation of other vegan brands? And secondly, do you also foresee that someday maybe Flipkart or a Big Basket or a Amazon will acquire VeganDukan?
Some imagination, I would have about this. One is, we have still not become so big that, or maybe the vegan industry has not become so big where a lot of consolidation can happen, maybe in foreseeable future, maybe in next few years, maybe 2-3 years or something like that. Everybody is growing, like like whether you are a D2C brand, you are a marketplace. Anyway, marketplaces are very, very less in number in such kind of niche. So all are at very much at a growing stage. So it's hard to say right now that consolidation will happen, or what kind of amalgamation can happen. But yeah, possible. It's not that it is not possible. Like and a few of the brands similar to us, what we do, we are in touch. We try to explore synergies and all those things. So we are not shying away because we understand each other's challenges, the challenge market has, or the challenge in general, if any new company or startup would have. So those things anyway, ongoing discussion, we also, do that. So one possibility, yes, that is possible. Second is, if somebody comes and acquire, maybe, we have to reach such a scale where we become really like, interesting proposition for any company. Where they feel okay, fine, इससे अच्छा है कि खरीद ही लेते हैं इनको, या फिर stakes मतलब invest कर देते हैं, so they become part of our group and all those things. So some possibilities are there. Like, I am not able to deny anything in this. Anything can happen here.
And इसमें it will also be decided by how the investors see the value specifically in a particular industry or a niche, right?
Right.
जैसे होता है ना इंडिया में, इन्वेस्टर्स को लगता है कि ओके नाउ दिस इज द टाइम टू इन्वेस्ट इन दिस टाइप ऑफ कंपनीज, राइट? एंड आई डोंट थिंक दैट हैज येट कम फॉर वीगन ई-कॉमर्स ब्रांड्स, बट probably there will be a time when investors will all flock to invest in various brands and they'll try to find that one winner and stuff like that, right? So in general, how do you see the investment scene in vegan brands in India today?
So I think, so just to touching upon on the first point what you said, right now investors and they are very much focused on companies with IP, if they have their own innovation or something like that, where the focus is very much on R&D centric companies, product companies, where because anyway this is a tectonic shift we are going to witness, and who can play the most formidable role. So who would have that very good product, and that's where we are seeing that investments are happening. It's not that a lot of investments are happening, but those companies are getting investment who have made R&D and product development as their core. So we have seen those companies.
And do you think that is one of the reasons why VeganDukan started as an e-commerce brand, but now I think you have your line of products as well?
So a couple of reasons for that. One is when we are experiencing and servicing customers, right? And we also come across their pain points. We understand their pain points, and that is definitely one. Second is when you have your own product, you earn better margins then, because again all these brands have limited margins to share with us. So and then we can sell all these things on other places as well. So that definitely helps for the revenue part. So I think these are the two reasons. But first and foremost, I think we saw some solid pain points what customers were bringing, and they were like discussing about.
Can you talk about one or two such pain points?
So if you come across this brand called Nutriva, so they used to make this buttermilk in Tetra Pak. Okay. Now the founder Sunny has moved to Canada, but then they were having the very very good buttermilk made from peanut. So that was a good kind of stopgap solution when curd was not accessible, and it is still not accessible everywhere. But then they suddenly stopped, and though again everybody may or may not like peanut flavor and all. So there was a very very realistic pain point, which I also felt that as a vegan, if I have to turn vegan and if I don't get curd, it would be difficult. So that was one. Another was I have always seen my wife. She would have tea, but she will use all this milk whitener powder. She is okay with whatever different flavor, like that flavor compromise, because she would use very little powder. So I said, yeah, this can make sense. One is there is no powder available in this.
So you're talking about your curd powder, right?
So one is the curd kit, which we are able to now send it across India.
Because it's in the powder form, so
it is in powder form.
The logistics is that much easier.
Correct, and curd is like it is a refrigeration product, so it cannot reach everywhere. Like Andaman Nicobar, Ladakh, Northeast, far Rajasthan also. These things are going.
Even within states also, like the cold logistics is.
That is correct.
Anyway, yes. A pain point.
Even if from here to we want to send to Mysore and all, but still we would need a lot of thermocol packing and all those things. So which will become very expensive. So there was one definite pain point we saw, that how can we make this thing easy for people. So yeah, there was curd kit where it somehow solved the purpose. You need to put little time, maybe 5-10 minutes to prepare and all those things, but yeah, then it's worth it that way. And yeah, so second was like something practical which I saw in my home, where why not we do something like this, where again something can become very much travel friendly, lighter in weight, and still it serves the purpose. So that was the main point actually. It was yeah.
Nice. And your products, they are a separate entity, like a separate company, or they are part of the umbrella VeganDukan brand?
So it's part of same company. Yeah.
Nice. So investors, if they are watching this, if they come to invest, then they'll know that okay, if we invest in VeganDukan, we'll also get part of that product as well.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Pitch ho gaya ye to.
Yeah, so that is correct. Yeah, I think, and then why not? I think we want to work with. We want everybody to benefit with what we are doing, right? So yeah, I think great. If they see the value in that.
ठीक है. अभी next question is a bit tricky. How do you see the ethics of getting money from non-vegan investors? That is the main thing, right? Because you'll think, okay, they are not value driven, purpose driven, but rather they just want to be a part of the game, right?
Correct.
So how do you deal with that? Or
So-
like, what is your? I'm sure you would have thought about it, right?
Right, yeah.
Not everyone cares about a Gary Yourofsky speech, right?
Yeah, true.
So how do you think, and what have you thought about this whole thing?
So see, as a activist mindset, I would definitely feel that okay, fine, can I avoid this? That is for sure. But then if we broaden our perspective, and based on the experiences we have, like a few times I have also been to outreaches or talked with family and friends and all, and what we have realized, if somebody is able to acknowledge the problem we are trying to solve, I think that needs encouragement. So that's like fundamentally I'm saying any individual. Now there can be people who are supportive of this, and they want to support, may not be with their own personal, they have made the personal shift or not, but they are ready to put their hard-earned money, which also has risk, and I value that. So far, I have not come across any investor or interest from anybody that okay, fine, we are just into this because we want to make X amount after so and so years.
But eventually that point will come.
Right? Possible. I'm not denying that. And if that time, if we don't have any option or something like that, or maybe if we still would see that association is going to help the company, I will say no, but still I have not come across that thing, so I have no idea right now.
But plus there will be a lot of power dynamics to address as well, right? Like,
correct.
In the sense that if you bring on a venture capitalist and now they are calling the shots, so maybe that is where you will think, okay, I would still like to retain the power dynamics of the whole thing. For example, it is a possibility which I can think of that
right.
Suppose there is a vegan brand and they are growing and getting capital from these venture capitalist firms.
Right.
There can be because it's very common, right? The whole vision of the company suddenly changes with a new round of investment when the CEO is removed and the new CEO comes in.
Right.
They think, okay, their strength is, I'm just saying, let's say VeganDukan XYZ, another brand. Their strength is not really their vegan branding, but their strength is logistics. Let's just use this whole thing and start selling non-vegan products as well. That can also be a possibility in some cases, right? As we have seen in many other regular e-commerce businesses where they started off as something and then the whole trajectory changed completely, right?
So I think, see, that's where probably, so that's a again conscious call anybody would take, as a founder or as a co-founder or the team. I think it's not something that you have to do if they insist you to do, right, something like that. It's a completely your call whether you would like to indulge into that business or not. Personally speaking, I have made those life choices where I had to leave the job because now I understood that I cannot handle non-vegan part of it, or I could not handle when I was vegetarian. I could not handle making meat sandwiches, for example, and I was working in Subway at that time for some time. So they changed my desk for a few shifts, and I had to change it. So I think it's more of a personal thing. Again, in those situations, what any individual would do, I would do. It's very difficult to predict. But if you are aligned, if you are making sense or trying to bring, though there can be sensible risk to the business, I think chances are there that you need not to go that way. So that's a struggle we have to take on. Like it's just like so being vegan is not going to be enough. Personally, this is how I see that if I've taken something which is which has much more importance than myself, then the hard work or the uncertainty, all those things will also come, and it will come with multiples. But that's what we have taken it for. We have signed up for that.
That is the risk that you have
Yeah.
that you have signed up for, and you know that there will be so many uncertainties as you proceed.
That is correct. Yeah. So far, trying definitely, trying to be on track, because either vegan journey or fighting for animals, it is not going to be easy for any individual or for a company or for any NGO or for any government. It is not going to be easy.
Of course.
So I think we should try to find ways to balance it. If we are not able to make proper justice to something, find a vegan way to do it. So that's what I have been trying. Yeah.
And already, because you are a vegan entrepreneur, so you interact with a lot of other entrepreneurs. And I, for certain, know some entrepreneurs who are not vegan or even plant-based for that matter, but they are founders of some of these brands which to the general public appears as vegan, right?
Right, yeah.
So they are already, and when I started this, I was very particular that I don't want entrepreneurs here. I want purpose-driven entrepreneurs and change makers who are in for the animals and then offering a solution, right? So that is also there, right? And that is a very difficult aspect to digest, right? On the practical side of things, yes, more and more entrepreneurs are coming up with innovative solutions,
Right.
to make sure that plant-based foods are available. But again, on a theoretical / ethical side of things, we feel that okay, but they themselves are not vegan. Or a better use case for that would be, let's say, a KFC tomorrow offers a plant-based product, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, then that things comes in our mind whether we should consume it, whether we should not consume it.
Yeah, it's going to be very tricky. I think it is also tricky, and at times, it puts us in dilemma, right? Like people who are for animals, and also, I think so many companies would like to take advantage of the growing industry. So yeah, again, at least that is where vegans can think, okay, fine. At times you have to have plant-based burger in KFC, please have it. At least sometimes if you really have got no choice, at least that is the bare minimum you can do to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking,
And maybe I've given a very extreme example,
Right.
And we'll have to beep out, इतना बुरा बात बोल दिया, ठीक है? तो ये बहुत extreme example हो गया, but let's say to any other brand, because KFC and for that matter even we'll again beep this out.
Right.
So these companies we see as large scale facilitators of animal abuse, animal
Correct.
exploiters,
Correct.
right? But there are other brands like, we don't know the whole background, like how they operate, but in our head, like, okay, fine, we can have
like epigamia.
हाँ exactly epigamia,
Yeah, so-
कि उसका plant based तो चलो ठीक है खा सकते हैं,
Correct. Yeah.
ठीक है, तो वैसा हो गया. But हाँ, I totally get your point that sometimes we have to acknowledge the constraints of the non-vegan world that we live in,
Right.
Which is something practical. I wish the things were different, and I'm sure that with our combined effort, it will change in the future. But abhi ke liye to that is a problem.
I think so kai baar it becomes so frustrating when we come across those realities again and again. Something resurfaces, right? And at that time we definitely feel kind of helpless, or we feel like hopeless कि यार ये change नहीं होने वाला है. But when you are little more peaceful and sitting and thinking about things, then we see that okay, last 10 साल में काफी कुछ change हुआ है. Though it's a very small change, right? But things have changed a lot.
And plus, I think that the change will be disproportionate, right? Right now, it is a small change, but
Correct.
eventually, that there will be that one domino after which will have that sharp spike.
That is correct. So something like this happened, right? So I can think of two examples. One is जैसे मतलब automotive, like four-wheelers started, right? And I think it took around 2 years to completely get off horses. Just 2 years, people were shifted to four-wheelers or something like that. So it was a rapid change. जो किसी ने visualize नहीं किया होगा. I think something similar we saw with mobile phones as well. It took few years before we stopped seeing landlines, and now they are like hardly anywhere. So I think when this kind of thing will make a lot of sense to the industry, different parameters to make sense, but जब वो हो जाएगा, and I think that is where all these investments or startups and brains and hearts are working towards. Okay, how can we replace it so that people largely people don't get affected with the change?
True. That is on that is on the products side of things. So of course that will happen, like after a certain point, even plant-based products, they will just take off, right? But I'm also saying from the consciousness side of things, that why people will go vegan, right? Already the term vegan is coming here and there in mainstream media, right? And the moment people make that connect, mass scale education about what is veganism and why vegan. Why vegan is the question that needs to be answered to, or rather people need to be educated on this topic, which has not happened because for a lot of reasons. Now with more and more activists, content creators, and everywhere it's being covered, so that why vegan thing is coming into picture.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying why I think once that happens, then there will be a spike in number of vegans, especially in India, is one, I'm an optimist that way. And because of my conversations, I know that whenever I have, like every weekend, I have at least 2 or 3 decent conversations where I know that the seed has been well planted. And now if this person stays in an ecosystem where they are getting more and more vegan messages, then they will go vegan. So that is one reference point for me, that okay, when this education, same thing will happen at a mass scale, there will be a significant number of changes. Secondly, I think in India it's easier to be a vegan again from the product side of things, right? Because it's not that difficult. For example, in the West, people are consuming non-vegan or animal flesh and milk on a daily basis. When I say daily basis, what I mean is that even their breakfast will start with that, then the lunch, then the dinner. In India, even if I talk about non-vegetarian, I was a non-vegetarian from a Bengali family. But even then, what did it mean from the consumption side of things? That I would consume maybe twice or thrice a week, right? Someone can have slightly higher frequency, but in a single day, it would be like one meal that will be a part of it.
So that is true. I think, per capita consumption of meat is much lower than so many countries, for sure. I think dairy data I don't know, but I don't think dairy would be lower. Dairy consumption is very high in India, but yeah, for meat wise, yes, it is there. I think 2-3 things has to really go hand in hand. One is the activism, which is like I always feel that because of activism only all this industry have actually taken the birth. Otherwise, there was, I think, only OT was the only company. Oatly is the only company which had started long back, probably for what real purpose at that time. But apart from that, all these companies had started because there is some awareness, and then maybe capable people have taken up this thing to replace these products of consumers' choice. So I think activism, product innovation. But the third one is, a lot of support from the system, because that's the only last safety net. People have to continue indulging in the habits, even after knowing. I'm saying, we understand people are not knowing, or probably in certain parts, it might not be practical. But at least, larger consumption where it happens, and people are still knowing about it, maybe unethical practices, or maybe environmental aspects of it. But if government keeps allowing or ignoring all these things, I think it is going to be difficult. The fight will be longer till we reach that really critical mass. It's something like this. If we see any kid working in any kind of tea shop, or maybe underage person doing something which they are not supposed to do, now people understand that, okay, fine, see it with a different eye, so that person understand it becomes social stigma. So either it reaches that level, and then law comes to rescue people with that mindset, I think. But finally that is required. Until law changes, we will definitely be able to reduce a lot. But still people with a lot of self-righteousness will keep doing what they are doing. And there are people who would only budge if it is illegal. Even after that, yes, we know what things can happen.
Yeah.
But at least majority of people will fear the law. So I think these three things are very important. And I think law side, hardly, no work is happening.
No.
Nothing is happening. We normal citizens are doing whatever we are best capable of.
Yes.
But I think that is where I think something really should happen, because law is actually permitting more and more animal exploitation.
Yeah, very true. And you gave a very good example as well. So just to summarize, like why vegan and educating people on that will raise consciousness, and those will be the first movers who will do it because they know that it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Then with various products, it will then become more mainstream. So even if a person is not a vegan or an ethical vegan for that matter, but they are just consuming plant-based products. Why? Because you talked about the stigma part, right? And stigma not in the negative sense, but a very good example that you gave of child labor, which was very common probably 1 decade back. We would not feel bad seeing a child serving us tea in a small restaurant, but now that is something I think we'll all speak up against. And that has happened because of how the society has collectively started seeing it as an issue, right?
True.
And then the last thing is, like, when we have enough number of people, then we'll have the enforcement part from the governments, right? Where it turns into a law. It can start in parallel with the second step, where the stigma and the enforcement is coming together. But yeah, eventually that has to happen. And I feel that as of now, I think there's always going to be space for bottom-up approach, where the change is happening at an individual level, and then there's the top-down approach where it is turning into a law from the government side, right? As of now, I think the importance of bottom-up approach is more because we need more people in number. But as we proceed in this movement, then the importance of top-down approach will become more important, where we would need people to lobby for it. We would need people in positions of in power, right? Who
yeah.
can then bring about that change. So very true. And that example, like, that just underlines the whole thing in a very apt way, because
that lobbying and all part, those things are also happening. Like,
of course it is happening. No, I'm just saying that both need to coexist. I just feel that as we proceed in any movement, as we proceed towards when we have that positive shift, then the top-down approach becomes more and more important.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah. So, like, as vegan, we would always see that it should have been done, day before, actually. The kind of, government support and the kind of, understanding about what we are trying to do, that should have been. But I think there we are still missing those front runners, or at least, people who are being very vocal and clear about it. Even in politics, we have maybe a handful of people who are openly talking about it, or trying to put this in priority. So I think that is the biggest thing which we are missing. And if somebody starts work there, I think it will add so much strength, because if it starts now, maybe in few years we will start seeing that somewhere more and more people are able to buy what they are trying to do, and there are much bigger motives than only society or only economy, but larger motives as well. So I think that is one thing which needs to come for sure. Yeah.
Of course, and I think it will come sooner than later.
Yeah.
Or at least that is what we can hope for.
Yeah.
So Sagar, I think I just have one question, that a lot of young folks nowadays who are activists and who are vegans as well, who want to work in purpose-driven vegan brands, right?
Right. Yeah.
So on that note, like, how does VeganDukan go about hiring people? So would like if you can touch upon that.
Okay, I'll start from here. When I was working with companies where I was not completely aligned principally and all, and it used to make me very, very uncomfortable. Then before starting VeganDukan, I was also looking for something where where my value system and my time is consumed, where I really feel that it should be invested in proper way. So that is very suffocating, and I understand definitely with my personal example. So that's where, I think few months back, I started one vegan careers group, where I invited all the vegan entrepreneurs, whoever I know, and the people who are looking for those kind of opportunities. So it's a kind of WhatsApp group where it is only and only used for this purpose. Where if you really want to serve or work in such company, then there are vegan company founders are there, and there are potential people as well. So they just get introduced to each other. So that is one way to do it. So whenever VeganDukan has any opening, first of all I will put it there.
You have created like a small version of Naukri.com.
Very maybe micro level of that thing. So yeah, so that's where we have some success stories. We had, for our team also, we had some success stories where we had couple of team members actually came from there, and we had fantastic working relation. So that way that group or similar to that, if somebody is looking to work with such company, then now all these vegan companies are very much approachable. So people should reach out to them, and if somebody is interested, they can also join this group. Probably I'll just share the link and all. And yeah, so hiring process, so far there is no set process, because we are still a startup, so it goes with a lot of casual conversation.
आप ESOP देते हो?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So and in fact,
whenever someone reaches out to me asking ki, should I join a startup or not, whenever who has freshly graduated out of college asks this question, I always ask this question: join a startup if you're getting ESOP.
Right, yeah. So yeah, like
काम तो करना ही पड़ेगा स्टार्टअप में जाके बहुत ज़्यादा.
Correct.
तो एटलीस्ट अपसाइड तो हो.
So हाँ, मतलब सही बात है. You never know that कब वो काम में आ जाए, right? Hopefully everybody is working that it will become very much valuable. So for the same purpose, we have ESOPs, and I truly believe that whoever is working and putting their heart and soul, and that's what the expectations are also. It's not that whoever is putting, that is the expectation. We want people who are ready to put their heart and soul,
and be part of the company itself.
Correct. Right? So be part of the company, and probably be part of some change we are trying to bring together. So if somebody is excited for that, then why not you also be part of the upside of it whenever it happens. So yeah, so that is there.
Nice. Thank you so much, Sagar, for this insightful session, and I wish you and VeganDukan all the very best.
Thank you.
ठीक है, जब भी आपका लंबा investment आएगा, and then suddenly on paper you'll become a millionaire or a billionaire, then again we'll look at this podcast and think about it. Okay, this is how the whole journey started.
Yeah, so I think those things would be byproduct of whatever really good thing we do, but I think I think that will only happen if VeganDukan does what they are set for, and then other things are, hopefully it will fall in place. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.